So I've learned something that I'm not normal, and the people, I don't want to surprise y'all, but you're not normal either. You're giving up a Tuesday night. Judy's probably got a lot of things she'd rather do than to be out here tonight, but we're changing our community, we're changing our district, we're changing our lives, and thank you. So, does everybody remember who Paul Harvey was, the radio commentator for the rest of the story? His comment was that politicians are like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reasons. So as we're talking about tonight about different pieces of legislation that's coming through our United States House of Representatives, think about whether or not it smells like that dirty diaper. So I am Eric Klingemann, and I'm running for United States House of Representatives, District 31, which is Bell and Williamson counties. So I'm one of those 90% of America that feels that our Congress is failing us in their leadership. I think it is disgusting that their re-election rate is 95%. Because of that, I was turned on to a group called Go in the Fall. Now, Go stands for, it's GOOH.com. Please go look them up. They're a nonpartisan group that's goal is to get rid of the career politicians and restore the citizens to the legislative process. They have a process where they include and invite all members of the district to come forward, do round robins, and select somebody to come forward and represent them in the primary for that district. I have the honor of being that person they've asked to come forward and represent Go and the citizens of Texas in District 31. Now again, I say that we see that there's a problem in America. 90% believe that there's a problem with our Congress. Go has provided a solution. Term-limited, citizen-selected candidates are that solution. So right now the loudest voices in the United States House of Representatives are the Speaker, but they're also a freshman congressman from South Florida. Has everybody heard of Alan West? Yes. Colonel West is on Fox News every third day. Who's not on that Fox News, not the loudest voice, is our elected representative. He is the 6th most powerful man in Congress because of his seat as the conference secretary, the 6th most powerful man in Congress. But he can't find that microphone to speak up to the issues because they are controversial and they might cost him a re-election. But they are controversial and they are important to our district. If elected, I hope to be that voice, that loud freshman congressman voice to drive these issues forward. My first issue is we've got to cut the spending. We've got to cap our debt by refusing to raise the debt ceiling. I won't just say I'm for it. I will find a solution that is achievable in my tenure. Now, Connie Mack and Ron Paul both have solutions that are achievable in 3 to 8 years for a balanced budget. The Paul Ryan plan takes a decade and a half. That is not a solution. Second, I think we must defend our nation by defending our borders. Again, I'm not going to just say I'm for it. If the Department of Justice won't enforce the illegal immigration laws that are on the books, then I will cut their budget and give it to the states that will. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. Those 4 states have felt the direct impact the illegal immigration process has on our communities, on our society, on our budgets. We can't afford it and we must take action. That's one of the issues that our congressmen won't address. Third, we need to find, and I will do this to drive to the floor, to bring to the vote a fair tax. There's nothing more invasive in our lives today than the IRS. It's more invasive and more directly into your pocket than it has been in any generation. The fair tax has been reviewed, it's been vetted, it's been published. It's a better solution than what we have right now. We can do better. We deserve better. We have one man, one vote. I believe we can have one man, one tax. Now, I'm not a career politician. I've not run for political office before. What I am is a citizen selected by his peers as representative of them. Through my time at West Point and serving as an officer in the United States Army, as well as being a 5th-generation Central Texan, as well as owning my own business here and raising my family here, I believe it's a duty to serve my nation. I believe the people of Texas need that voice. Now, our political process has become so contorted that it makes it almost impossible as a citizen as myself to come forward and serve in this capacity. I believe it's a great injustice, but one that can be overcome by the power of the people in this room tonight. I was raised here. I've served here. I run my own business here. Who do you want representing you? I'm Eric Klingemann, and I'm asking for your support for the United States Congress. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What's your idea on how to control our border situation?
Well, it's a multi-pronged. Part of that is actually the fair tax. One of the solutions that it will do is with the prebates and not giving prebates to people who are here illegally, That'll force them, as they're doing the course of jobs, to pay into our tax system. So that'll increase revenues. Plus, that they will not get that rebate, which is part of a disincentive to come to America anymore. Now, America is still going to be the great shining lighthouse on the island of the world. I mean, I want it to stay that way. Part of the solution is streamlining our legal immigration process. We have great people languishing in that system. People we want to come here to start jobs, to pay taxes, to start patents, to file trademarks. They want to be here. We want them here. Let's get that pressure off of our legal immigration process. Then we can narrow that focus and start focusing on those bad doers who want to come here and do us nothing but harm. Those enemies from foreign governments, as well as those who are bringing in the drugs and the illegal activities that we see every day. So that's part of it. That's a bigger question. There's a lot more to it. I mean, it's a wall in some places. It's work visas in other places. It's lethal enforcement in some places. It's going to take people actually doing the job of enforcing the border. I think it's a disgrace that tens of thousands of illegal immigrants come to our country daily, but we can't get 3 American hikers to walk anywhere near Iran without causing an international incident. Our enemy's borders are more secure than ours, and that's disgusting.
We've been, you talk about that wall, we've been to, some of our kids are national park rangers, and we've been to Big Bend before they ever got to be park rangers down there. And we drove literally all along the border down there in that area. There's no fence on that area.
And no one's crossing there because you're not going to make it across Big Bend. Yeah. I mean, there is in El Paso, there is in Presidio, there is in Acuna, there is.
And that river they always talk about is a trickle.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I've been there with my wife and kids, and my dogs swim across it. I mean,
there's nothing there. You could hop, skip, and jump across it.
But that's you got to address the threat and where the damage is being done, and it's not being done in Big Bend. So yeah, that's not a solution for a wall. That's why it's not great in all places. Yes, ma'am.
How do your ideas differ from Mr. Carter?
Well, I say I'm God blessed to be raised in Texas. And everybody in this room will be a great conservative vote if they were elected to the House of Representatives. Now, Mr. Carter, there's about 70% of the time I agree with the things he's done. And when he's the only choice on the ballot, he is the best choice on the ballot. I voted for him the last decade. Now, the differences are you need somebody who are going to drive those issues. Now, the first issue on every congressman's mind, and I dare anybody to defy me on this, is how does this affect my reelection? That's the first question on every congressman's mind. It's not what's best for my community or what's best for my district, but how does it affect my reelection? So you put term limits in. And if you're not going to, that's going to be a hard thing to get past, but as somebody who's going to come forward and say, I will term limit myself, I'm not saying I'm the best representative of this district. But in 4 years, when we go through this GO process again, and there are 10,000 people stepping forward to be their representative for this district, we'll find the best representative for the district. So I go back and say that I will take that issue of reelection off my mind. I'll actually be forced to do what's best for the district and not what's best for getting me to be the 6th most powerful man in Congress.
So term limits is one.
Term limits. I wouldn't vote to raise the debt ceiling like he's done every time. I won't approve every Obama budget that he has approved. I won't support these institutions like the Department of Justice that won't enforce illegal immigration. I will cut their budget. Now, much of Congress likes to ignore the Constitution, but there's one thing you can't ignore. All expenditures and all tax revenues must originate in the United States Congress. I'm sorry, United States House of Representatives. The power of the purse strings. You control that. He's abdicated that time and time again. You must take control of it and say, by God, I'm a United States Congressman and we're not going to do that. But that affects your reelection.
What legislation would you cut? I don't like much of what Bill Clinton says. Bill Clinton says as long as legislation is on the book, you're required by law to pay for it. That's a true statement. What legislation, specific pieces, would you cut, would you vote to remove? I'm looking for a congressman that's not going to add legislation, but eliminate existing laws. So what if laws exist would you cut?
So absolutely, that's a challenge. I mean, we ask, everybody has their own piece of, everybody agrees that entitlements must be cut, but not my entitlement. I hate to say it, it's across the board. You need to find those things that can be cut out. It's parts of Medicaid. It is some parts of our defense budget. Those are line items that can be reduced. I mean, I'm going to go to the experts. I don't have those strict answers. I think the Department of Education is a great example of a place we could cut a lot of dang money. I like the fair tax. Guess what? That gets rid of the IRS. They are an extremely expensive organization. All the enforcement that goes with it.
I'm sorry. it reduces the power of the IRS, but somebody's still going to have to audit the books and check the record.
Well, I mean, we do that on the state level. I mean, every state, not every state, I think there's 45 states that have a consumption-based tax. But not these states don't have this huge bureaucratic, overreaching organization as the IRS.
Totally, you will reduce the power and scope of it.
So there's plenty of them. Like I said, there's a few of them. The IRS, Department of Education, Department of Defense. I mean, the Department of Defense, I fully support funding. As you know, as a former officer myself, we have to support our troops in every situation we put them in. But the problem is we're putting them in situations they shouldn't be in, and we're also putting there's threats that don't exist anymore that we need to quit fighting. I don't know that we need such a large presence in Germany anymore. There's a big ticket item that we could cut out of the defense budget. And a lot of our military, you know, I will go to them and let them tell us where the threats are, and they'll tell us what fights we need to fight.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the refugee program? The legal refugees that are being brought into this country?
Not specifically, no.
Okay, because we are bringing them from all around the world, especially from a country called Burma. That's where I'm from. And when we bring them here, we do not educate them. We just let them run amok here, give them food stamp, and they're dependent on us forever. A lot of them are older, and they don't speak, they don't understand. So if we continue to bring all the refugees from around the world, how are we ever going to get rid of all the other entitlement programs that we don't want to give to them?
You're right. We need to look at those drags upon our economy and start looking more at those who will come to America to be assets to our economy. And we have many of those. And if we can take that pressure off the legal immigration process, that'll help us do that focus and go back to look at, I'm not familiar with the refugee program, and as my wife will attest, I don't know everything.
It is a big program, and I do volunteer work with many of them because they don't know how to speak, they don't know how to do anything. So what I'm saying is, yes, they're welcome to come into this country, but we are not giving them the tools to say, you have to learn the language, you have to get, you know, accustomed to living here.
Language is a great example. I support English being the official language of America. I think the best thing we can do to set... You know, we have the greatest opportunity for success on the face of this planet. I think it is such a great tool that if we mandated that our citizens and those people in our nation spoke English, that is a building block for success. That's not an imposition. Why wouldn't we do that? I mean, there's no single one factor we could do to set up our citizenry than to teach them to master the English language. It is spoken around the world for a reason. Yes, ma'am.
Did I understand you correctly to say that you would limit your term?
Yes, ma'am.
One term?
2 terms, 4 years. I love Texas. I grew up here. I don't want to go to Washington, D.C.
How are you going to limit it?
I will not run for a 3rd term.
Will you sign?
I have, yes, ma'am. Part of the GO commitment pledge is that you will say that up front and abide by it. And we had, for the first 150 years of our government, this wasn't an issue. We didn't have term limits for the United States presidents. Because beginning with George Washington, they had more honor than to run for a 3rd term. They recognized the destructive power of being in power, that progressive desensitization, to coin the phrase.
I believe every office should have that.
But we can't get a single member of Congress to do that.
That's because they've been there forever.
You know that they love that power. I don't know. I want to be back home in Texas. You know, doing this is reducing the time I spend with my wife, and I'm one of those weird people that has a wife that loves me and wants me home every night. I've got 2 beautiful kids that I don't want to spend all this time that I'm going to spend apart with them. So I don't want to live for a decade in Washington. I don't know why anybody would.